1979 was a year when disco was dying and rock was evolving, creating perfect conditions for some of the strangest chart toppers you've ever heard. Today, we're diving into 10 tracks that dominated the airwaves for their brief moment in the sun. Barbara Mitchell, Linda Howard, Vanessa Mitchell, and Michelle Rumpf formed High Energy in 1977, blending disco with R&B in a way that caught Motown's attention. Their suggestive hit, You Can't Turn Me Off, reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. But the group struggled with label changes and internal conflicts that prevented them from capitalizing on their success. Today, the surviving members occasionally perform at nostalgia events, though Barbara Mitchell passed away in 2012. The song's overtly sexual lyrics caused radio stations across the Bible Belt to ban it completely, with some DJs cutting the track mid-play when they realized what they were broadcasting. Several religious groups organized boycotts against stations that played it, claiming that it was corrupting America's youth. The controversy only boosted sales, proving that nothing sells records quite like moral outrage. Rubicon was essentially a studio creation built around songwriter Jerry Martini, who had previously been a saxophonist with Sly and the Family Stone. The group recorded their album in 1978, but it took nearly a year for I'm Gonna Take Care of Everything to gain traction on radio. The song's smooth rock sound captured something that resonated with listeners, but Rubicon couldn't replicate that magic. Martini returned to session work and eventually left the music business entirely, becoming a real estate agent in Northern California. The song was actually written about Martini's bitter divorce proceedings, where he promised his ex-wife he'd handle all the financial arrangements. What sounds like a romantic pledge was really a sarcastic middle finger to his former spouse. Radio programmers had no clue they were playing a divorce settlement set to music, and Martini never bothered to correct them. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more music stories that'll surprise you. Share this with someone who remembers when radio actually played interesting music. Canadian pianist Frank Mills had been grinding away in the music business for over a decade when he recorded this delicate instrumental piece in 1974. The track sat dormant for 5 years until a radio DJ in Toronto started playing it as background music during slow news segments. Listeners began calling to ask about the mysterious piano melody, and suddenly, Mills had a number 3 hit in 1979. Mills continued recording easy listening albums for decades, building a devoted following in Canada while remaining largely forgotten in the United States. Mills originally titled the song The Prostitute's Waltz after watching a documentary about Amsterdam's red light district. His record label demanded he change the name to something more radio-friendly, leading to the innocuous Music Box Dancer title. The irony wasn't lost on Mills that a song about sex workers became a favorite of middle-aged housewives and elevator music programmers. Randy Van Warmer was a struggling songwriter living in Cornwall, England, when he penned Just When I Needed You Most. Just when I needed you most. An emotional ballad about a relationship falling apart. The song was deeply personal, written after his girlfriend left him while he was trying to make it in the music business. Van Warmer moved to Nashville in the late 1970s and finally got his break when the song became a massive hit, reaching number 4 on the charts. He continued writing songs for other artists throughout the 1980s and 90s, but never matched his solo success. Van Warmer died of leukemia in 2004, largely forgotten, except for this one perfect moment. Van Warmer wrote the song while contemplating suicide in his tiny apartment. He later admitted that creating the melody literally saved his life, giving him something to focus on besides his depression. The song that millions of people played during their own heartbreaks was born from one man's darkest hour, though he rarely discussed this publicly during interviews. Suzi Quatro was already a rock star in Europe when she teamed up with Chris Norman, lead singer of Smokey, for this duet. The collaboration happened almost by accident when both artists were recording at the same studio in 1978. Their chemistry was immediate, and Stumblin' In became a worldwide hit, reaching number 41 in the US and number 4 in the UK. Quatro continued her successful career in Europe and later became an actress, while Norman pursued a solo career after leaving Smokey. Both artists are still performing today, though they've rarely worked together since. The song was recorded during a tense period when Quatro was having an affair with Norman, despite both being married to other people. Their spouses were reportedly present during some recording sessions, completely unaware of what was happening between takes. The sexual tension you hear in their voices wasn't acting, it was real, and it nearly destroyed 2 marriages before the affair ended. If you're enjoying these stories, smash that subscribe button and share this video with your friends. And hit the like button if you remember hearing these songs on the radio. Roger Voudouris was a Greek-American singer-songwriter who spent years playing small clubs in California before landing a record deal in 1979. Get Used to It showcased his smooth voice and sophisticated songwriting, climbing to number 21 on the charts.
Faster, get used to it.
Despite the success, Voudouris struggled with stage fright and never felt comfortable with the demands of fame. He released a few more albums, but gradually retreated from the spotlight, eventually becoming a successful real estate developer in Los Angeles. Voudouris died in 2007, having long since left music behind. Voudouris wrote the song as a warning to his record label executives, who he felt were trying to control his artistic vision. The lyrics, "You better get used to it," were his way of telling them he wouldn't compromise his music for commercial success. The irony is that this act of defiance became his biggest commercial success, proving that sometimes rebellion sells better than compliance. Ian Gaume had been the guitarist for British pub rock band Brinsley Schwarz before launching his solo career in the late 1970s. His song, Hold On, captured the perfect balance between power pop and new wave, earning him a number 18 hit in America. Despite the success, Gaume found the music business exhausting and returned to England, where he continued making music on his own terms. He's still recording and performing today, maintaining a loyal cult following among power pop enthusiasts who consider him criminally underrated. Gaume recorded Hold On while going through alcohol withdrawal, and the shaky vocals you hear aren't a stylistic choice. They're the result of delirium tremens. His hands were shaking so badly during recording that he had to tape the guitar pick to his fingers. The song that became his biggest hit was literally recorded during one of the worst periods of his life, though he's been sober for over 4 decades since. New England was formed by guitarist-vocalist John Fannin, who had previously played with various Boston-area bands throughout the 1970s. Their debut album was produced by Mike Stone, who had worked with Queen, and Don't Ever Wanna Lose Ya became their breakthrough hit, reaching number 40 on the charts. The band's arena rock sound seemed perfectly positioned for 1980's success, but internal tensions and label problems derailed their momentum. Fannin continued making music sporadically over the years, while other members pursued careers outside the music industry. The song was written about Fannin's obsession with a fan who attended every New England concert in the Boston area. What started as innocent admiration turned into stalking, with Fannin following her home and calling her repeatedly. She eventually got a restraining order against him, but not before inspiring the hit song that, ironically, made him famous. Fannin has never publicly acknowledged this story, but band members confirmed it years later. Nick Lowe was already a respected figure in British rock circles as a producer and bassist for Rockpile when he decided to focus more seriously on his solo career. Cruel to Be Kind was co-written with Ian Gaume back in 1974, But Lowe didn't record his own version until 1979. The song's blend of pub rock and power pop sensibilities made it his biggest American hit, reaching number 12 on the charts. Lowe continued recording and touring for decades, earning critical acclaim even as commercial success remained elusive. He's still making music today, revered by musicians and critics as one of rock's most consistent songwriters. Lowe wrote the song after punching his then-girlfriend during a drunken argument, an incident that left him horrified at his own behavior. The title, Cruel to Be Kind, was his attempt to justify his violence, though he later admitted this was self-serving rationalization. He's spoken openly about his struggles with alcohol and anger in later interviews, using the song as an example of how people can convince themselves that abuse is somehow loving. Rupert Holmes was a successful songwriter and playwright who had written hits for other artists before recording Escape as the final track for his album, Partners in Crime.
If you like pina coladas.
The song's narrative about a man answering personal ads to cheat on his wife struck a chord with listeners, becoming the last #1 hit of the 1970s and the first of the 1980s. Holmes continued writing for Broadway and television, winning Tony Awards and achieving success far beyond his musical career. He's still active today as a writer and composer, though he's never escaped the shadow of his pina colada drinking protagonist. Holmes later revealed that Escape was based on his own marriage, and that he and his wife had actually placed personal ads to explore affairs with other people. The twist ending, where the couple discovers they're both seeking the same thing, wasn't fiction. It actually happened to them. They stayed married for several more years after the song's success, though Holmes admits the experience of turning their marital problems into entertainment probably didn't help their relationship. That's 10 songs that ruled 1979 for their brief moment in the spotlight. These artists proved that sometimes the most memorable music comes from the most unexpected places and darkest circumstances. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about the music that shaped our lives. And don't forget to share this with someone who remembers when one-hit wonders actually meant something. What's your favorite song from 1979? Let me know in the comments.